Assalamu Alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. How is everyone? Hope that you all are well, enjoying your learning. Today we are solving one more scenario-based question. This is October-November 2024, paper 2-2. Before we proceed to the actual question, let's talk about how will you score the marks. You are going to score the marks by following these instructions. If you see assessment objective 2, this is going to be maximum of 9 marks, and you can score 9 marks if you are following these instructions. Whichever the range of programming techniques that are allowed, like you can see, we have to use a selection statement or iteration or counting. If my program is dealing with any sort of totaling, all these programming techniques I have to identify before I start my answering the question. Some data has been stored but not appropriately, and for that I need to use the variables or arrays. Like they are going to be the proper use of the data structures are going to be used, and they are as defined in the scenario. So if a child has followed these instructions, he has used the appropriate programming techniques, referring to the programming techniques as we have talked about right now, he will be, inshallah, scoring 9 out of 9. Moving to assessment objective 3. In this manner, like I hope that we are clear about this. We have been talking about these things quite frequently. And still, if you have a query, then I'll share with you the link of the video that is talking about these things in detail. So you can watch that also. Moving to the second thing, assessment objective 3. A student can score maximum 6 marks if he is following these basic instructions. Your program is fully documented. You have used identifiers that are containing meaningful names. Your program is in a logical order. You are using the solution that is accurate. Like minor mistakes might be ignored. Your solution is meeting all the requirements of the scenario, of the given scenario. It means if the child has followed all these instructions in his answer, then he will be scoring 6 out of 6 for his assessment objective 3. Again, detailed instructions regarding this will be shared. I hope that you'll be getting those very clearly. Now, moving to the actual question. This is the question that you can see here. A 1D array rooms contains the names of up to 20 rooms in a house. A 2D two-dimensional array dimensions is used to store the length, width, and area of each room. The position of any array's data is the same in both arrays. For example, the data in index 5 of dimensions belongs to the room in index 5 of rooms. So here, just an example that you can see here, they are exactly same. Like you can see here, if you talk about the, if for example, this 2 here is linked with this 2. This 3 here is linked with this 3. If it's 5, it's linked with this 5. That is what is the meaning of this statement. The variable number, as you can see, the variable number stores the number of rooms for each data. Is the variable number stores the number of rooms for which data is to be input. There must be at least 3 rooms, but no more than 20. Again, you can see variable number is holding the number of rooms in your requirement, and the requirement is it should be more than 3 or equal to 3, or definitely no more than 20. It means in between 3 and 20 is the range. Write a program that meets the following requirements. First requirement, allows the number of rooms for which data is required to be input, stored, and validated. Now, this is very, very important. We need to see that this is what is my requirement. I have to go for this thing. You need to see this one. Input is required to be stored and validated. Allows the name of room and the length and width of the room in meters to be entered and stored. Now, after the number of rooms is input and validated, the next stage is to take the input of the room and to find out to take the input of the length and width of the room also. allows the area of each room to be calculated as length multiplied by width. Now you can see area will be calculated and it is going to be length multiplied by width. Simple, given to you. You don't have to worry at all. They have already given to you and stored as square meters, rounded to 2 decimal places. This is very, very important that you need to see that your area will be rounded to 2 decimal places and then it will be stored later. Calculates the, now after this, I hope that it is very much clear to all of us. Input taken in the number of rooms, after that the name of the room and the dimensions will be taken. As you can see, this is your dimension, this is your length, this is your width, and the area will be calculated and then stored. After that, what is the next task? Calculates the average size of all rooms. Now be clear, what are they talking about? Now they are saying that you have to calculate the average of all the rooms by area in square meters, again rounded to 2 decimal places. Finds the largest room and the smallest room by area. Now this is, by the way, isn't things striking your mind when you read this? Average size of all the rooms, largest room and the smallest room. After that, you have to go for the outputs. Output is the name of all rooms with the dimensions and area. Output is the name of the largest room and the smallest room by area. Output is the total area of the house and the average size of all the rooms by area. This is the requirement. You must use pseudocode or program code and add comments to explain how your code works. You do not need to declare any arrays or variables. You may assume that this already has been done for you. All inputs and outputs must contain suitable messages. Isn't this something that we have been doing quite frequently? Like you can see totaling, average, largest and smallest. The only change, as you can see here, is it is now dealing with arrays. That's all. Isn't it very easy? Yes, it is. Now let's move to what are they expecting me to do? How will I be able to score? First thing is I need to use the variables the way they are given in the scenario, the way the 2 arrays, rooms and dimensions, 1D and 2D array. The variable is number, so I'm not going to change the variable at all. I have to use the same number to store the total number of rooms in my particular question. How will I score the marks? If input of the number of rooms is taken and stored, if the names of the rooms are taken and the dimensions, and I have not forgotten to validate the number of rooms also. And I have not forgotten to write the proper prompts. It means that I'll definitely be meeting the first requirement. Inputs and storage after validating is going to give me requirement fulfilling the first requirement. After the first requirement, second requirement says I have to calculate and store the area of each room, and I have to find out the total area of the house and the average also. Again, do not forget to move on to 2 decimal places. Very important thing is I need to round off my area to 2 decimal places. After that, smallest room and the largest room is also found. For that, I have to perform the right calculations, the right method to find maximum and the minimum. And definitely it is to be done in using iteration. After I'm through with my calculation phase, the last phase or the last requirement is outputting the results. So if a child has met all the 3 requirements properly in the right sequence, it means he will definitely be scoring a good 14 or 15 marks. Now, the same question here, and we'll talk about each part of this separately. Let's start with the very basic thing. And just for the purpose of simplicity, I've taken an example where we are assuming that we are talking about a house that has 20 rooms. And just for making your imagination, this is something that you will be definitely doing in the paper also. Now, first requirement allows the number of rooms for which data is required to be input, stored, and validated. See, for this, you can see the code is here. Since it had prompted me to number of rooms to be input and then validated. So you can see here, first of all, it is through a repeat until loop. We are taking the input of how many rooms are in your house. And we are simply validating that whether if the number is less than 3 or number is above 20. It means that we are giving a message to the user so that he knows what his mistake is. Like any appropriate message, like the way it has been taken here, the number of rooms must be between 3 and 20 inclusive, and try again, so that he at least knows this is what his mistake is. Until number greater than or equal to 3 and number less than or equal to 20. So it means in this manner, we have performed the first requirement, that is like the first sub-requirement of requirement number 1, that is asking me to enter the number of rooms and validating is it accurate or not, and then it will be then starting my work. Second requirement, as you can see, allows the name of the room and length and width of the room in meters to be entered and stored. Allows the area of each room to be calculated as length multiplied by width and again stored as square meters rounded to 2 decimal places. For this, what are we doing? Since we already have passed through this first stage of taking the input of the number and validating, it means we have a certain value. Maybe person has entered 10 or a person has entered 15 or whatever or maybe 3. And that's perfectly okay, possible. Or 5, maybe whatever number is. So that number of times my loop will iterate. So you can see here the value of number, 1 to number. So your loop will iterate the number of times as is mentioned here. As you can see here, the number of times it is going to work. It will be 1 to number, enter the name of the room, input rooms. As you can see, the name of the array is rooms, or counter. So first time, if I say assume that the number was maybe 5, it means that the loop will iterate 5 times. It will input rooms 1 and will store rooms 1, maybe bedroom 1. Then enter the length of the room in meters. Now input is taken and this will be stored in the array dimensions, and that will be stored in location number 1, 1, 1. First input taken for the first room, and it is going to be 1, 1. And then it will be 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. In this manner, you can see. Okay, I'm sorry. Exactly. I was just testing whether you have paid attention or not. It's an array that is containing 3 columns. So it will be 1, 1 will be the length of the room. 1, 2 will be the width of the room for the first room that we are talking about. And after we have taken the inputs, what is done? We are calculating the dimension, counter, 1, multiplied by dimensions, counter, 2. Assume that the input that was given was, for example, maybe 20, for example. Okay, so 20 is the length of the room multiplied by maybe 5. So 20 multiplied by 5 is 100. So in this manner, the first will contain 20 here, width will contain 5 here, and it will contain 100. I've just taken some imaginary values, definitely, and this is your area. Okay, fine. So in this manner, you can assume that this will happen, that 1, 1 is going to be your length, 1, 2 will be your width, and the dimension will be multiplied. So you can see here, 20 multiplied by 5 is 100. And in case, if for example, the length and the width or maybe any one value is in a decimal value. So in order to perform this thing rounding off, what are we doing? We are using round function and we are performing the multiplication. And then we are doing both the things together. First of all, the values will be multiplied and then round function will be applied. And then the value will be stored in your 1, 3 location. So I think we are done with the first input of room and the dimensions, and then the counter value will become 2. So now it will start taking input of the second values. So whatever the values are, but maybe assume the second value was maybe 15 and it was maybe 5. So 15 times 5, the value will be multiplied and then it will be stored in this location. In this manner, the loop will iterate 5 times as taken in our example, and all the dimensions and the room name will be stored in their respective locations. I think very easy. Inputs taken, validated, stored, and our two main things are done very quickly. No problem at all in comprehending this basic thing, isn't it? Now moving to the next one. We are done with the inputs, and the next stage is calculate the average size of the room, average size of all the rooms by area. Now be clear, it's saying all the rooms. This is your all the rooms by area in square meters, rounded to 2 decimal places. Again, you can see it's rounded to 2 decimal places. Finds the largest room here and the smallest room here. It means that we have to recall our learning that we have done for average. By the way, average means we need which variable? Okay, that's great. We need a variable to store the. Okay, that's wonderful. We need a variable to store what? To store the total. Definitely. Similarly, we need a variable to store the largest and the smallest. And we need to initialize them. By the way, just recalling, total is always initialized with 0 because we need it in calculations. And largest will be initialized with the least abnormal value and smallest will be initialized with the highest abnormal value, something that is non-attainable. So here you can see the code. First thing is we have taken total area, as you can see here. Total area is initialized with your 0, as you can see. The first thing. Then you can see largest area that is meant to store the largest room area is initialized with 0, as I said, and largest index will be initialized with 1. Similarly, smallest area is initialized with the highest abnormal value and smallest index is also initialized with 1 because the first value, the first location is going to be like definitely the first one. That's why smallest index is initialized with 1. The first location, the first room, and smallest and largest the way we have learned earlier. You know, that's very great, Ali, that you have observed this thing. One line can store multiple variables first for initializing, but you need to put a colon sign in between. That's perfectly possible. Either you use multiple lines or you write them in one line, but do not forget to put a colon sign so that you can separate one value from the other, one initializing from the other. 4 variables initialized in 2 lines, that's perfectly possible. And after that, we are starting the loop. And the same loop is used for finding the total area, as you can see. And now you can see for total area, I have to go for calculating all the values that are here in this column. And this is my column number 3. As you can see, this is my column number 3. This is my first column that is holding the length. Second column is holding the width. And third column is holding my area. So that is why you can see total area equals to total area plus dimensions is the name of my array. And it's counter comma 3. First time the value of counter is 1, so 1 comma 3. So the value will be taken from this location, added to the total area that is 0 in the first case, and the value will be once again stored in the variable total area. Similarly, for finding the largest and the smallest rooms, what are we doing? We are using the if condition. If dimensions count to comma 3. So again, you can see every time for totaling or for finding out the maximum or the minimum, we are referring to counter comma 3, the last column of my array that is holding the area. So here you can see if dimensions counter comma 3 is greater than largest area, that is 0, then largest area will be equal to dimensions of counter comma 3. So whichever value is present in this location, it will be compared, and in this case, definitely in the first go, it's going to be the same situation. So it will be then stored in the variable largest area. And largest index will hold the value of counter. Okay, now you can see the why needed, because it will be telling the location where you're with, like which is your biggest room, which is your largest room, which is your smallest room. Like maybe your dining room is your largest room, or maybe your drawing room is the largest room. So in that case, the location 3 or maybe 19 or whichever number you have inserted, so that will be stored in the variables. That's why we are using largest index, similarly smallest index. So now you can see, I hope that that is very much clear. Same concept, only the change is the use of the array. That's all. If dimensions counter comma 3 is less than smallest area, assume that the dimension, like definitely we have talked about, first one was 100. 100 is less than 100,000, definitely. In this case, we are immediately going to have smallest area initialized with your, like, storing the location data, that is 100. And smallest index will be your 1. And in this case, we are handling all the three situations in the same loop. The total area calculated, we have found the largest room and the smallest room. And once this is over, it will move back with the second value of counter, that is 2. In this manner, the total area will be added. The dimensions for the largest area will be again compared with the stored value. And if updated, if it's bigger, it will be updated as well as the largest index. If not, it will not enter the if condition and it will move to the next if condition. Maybe this room is lesser than the smallest area stored. So maybe it is 95 as we've talked about our example, or maybe 75 as we have talked about our example. So in this manner, like 75 or 90, whatever. So definitely in this case, the smallest area will change. And similarly, the smallest index will also change. And it means my largest will still be the same, room 1, but my smallest is now my room 2. In this manner, you are going to iterate maybe 5 times as we have taken the example. And once the loop is over 5 times, it will be holding the total area. It will be holding the largest room, as well as the largest room index and the smallest room index also. Afterwards, the last task is to calculate the average outside the loop exactly. And again, we have to perform rounding off. But here you can see what we have done. Average area, assignment operator round. The round function is shown in your white so you can comprehend. And the calculation is done inside total area upon number. Like for example, if the total area assumed was maybe 300 and the number was 5. So 300 divided by 5 will be computed and the average area will be rounded off to 2 decimal places. So we can get the value in the rounded position. And the average area variable will be holding the average value, as was my requirement as is shown here. I hope that no issues. What is left is just the output. So maybe move to the last stage of my output. Now here you can see what is my the requirement here. Outputs the names of all rooms with the dimensions and area. Outputs the names of the largest room and the smallest room by area. Outputs the total area of the house and average size of all the rooms by area. How will we do it? So you can see here, first thing is outputs the names of all rooms with their dimensions and area. Now earlier area was computed, but here you can see we are using for index arrow 1 to number, output rooms index. So it will be referring to this rooms array, and the index position will be holding the value maybe from 1 to 5. So in our example, we are taking 1 to 5. So rooms 1, whatever the name of the room is, that will be displayed. After that, the dimensions, index comma 1 meters, index comma 2 meters, that is the width, and index comma 3, again the square meters, that is my area. In this manner, all the values that were required, room name and the dimensions, will be displayed on my screen for the first room. Similarly, the index will iterate for the second time, the loop will iterate for the second time. The value of index is 2. Now it will pick the values from location number 2, and then the name of the room, its dimensions will be displayed. Similarly, for the third time when the loop is iterating, the third dimensions will be displayed. So in this manner, all the 5 dimensions data will be displayed and along with the room name. And I am done with the sub-requirement of output of the names of the rooms and the dimensions. What is left? Output the names of the largest room and the smallest room. So here you can see it has to be done outside the loop because I want it once only. Largest room is room's largest index. So that is why we had used this variable. Similarly, the smallest room is room's smallest index. Assume that the smallest room was maybe kitchen. Assume. And it's not 20, it's assume that it's 5. Okay? Now, don't assume it to be this. This is 4, for example. So kitchen was location number 5. So it is location number 5 is the smallest index. So it will move to this array. It will look for location number 5 and it will be now showing the smallest room is kitchen. Similarly, if the largest room maybe was drawing room, so it will be showing the largest index was, for example, 3. So it will move to location number 3 and it will pick the drawing room. In this manner, largest room is, the smallest room is, will be displayed from the rooms array. Be careful. Total area is stored in the variable total area, and average area is held in the average area variables. So I'll simply go for total area of the house and average area of the house to be displayed in separate lines with the proper messages. That was my requirement. And do not forget to put the comments. I think by now we are comfortable. Just recalling, by the way, do you remember what are the requirements of a good program? We have been talking about exactly for our paper 2. So a good program should have comments. It is maintainable to be used by the other programmers later or even by me after a certain time interval. So again, a good program should have proper comments so that a person can know what is happening in this part of the code. So do not forget to put the comments. I think it's very simple. We are done with the whole. And for those who want the whole code to be present in a Go, it's for them. The same material as we have talked about separately, all of it is placed for you people. So you can see the same inputs taken and validated, the first requirement as we have talked about. Then we have taken the validating the number of inputs that we have talked about earlier. Then we have inputs taken and area calculated and stored after rounding off. Then we have performed the totaling and the 3 variables initialized with the right values. Then the loop to find out the total area, to find out the largest value, to find out the smallest value, the smallest room, and then calculation of average. After that, the last stage was to display the results. And for that, we have used the same and all of it is together. So this is what you will actually do in the paper also. You will first of all do the brainstorming. You will draw the diagram the way it's drawn for you people. You are just going to make small parts on your own memory so that you can understand, am I meeting all the requirements? And once you're okay with all the thing, then only you will start solving your scenario-based question. I think we have been giving you these instructions repeatedly. And again, a reminder, try to finish your, you start from the beginning. Do not jump to the scenario-based question in the beginning. So once you are done with all the questions, move to the scenario-based question. In the end, try your level best to finish your rest of the paper within 1 hour maximum, so that you have ample time for brainstorming, for understanding the requirements, and then you are able to solve a very neatly organized answer, and you will definitely be scoring also. I think it's very simple. You have learned the technique. There's no problem at all. Jazakallah khair Kasira for being a part of the learning journey. Hope that you have liked the understanding, liked the video. If you have liked the videos, please subscribe and like and share with your friends and family so that they all are going to benefit from it. Keep studying. Keep me in your prayers. Take very good care of your parents and your loved ones. May Allah bless you. May Allah help you. Allah Hafiz.